welcome. My name is Helena and I'm the creator of Fabelknitwear. Welcome back. It has once again been a while. This November, it's now December, but November just flew by. I have no idea where autumn went. It's been so busy, and when you're on your own business you really can't complain. It's just means I've not had time to actually sit down and tell you about my newest pattern, which was released a couple of weeks ago now, 2-3 weeks ago, on November 12th. So that's my bad. It's just been so incredibly busy. But I am here, I have time. Let me tell you about the Decadence Blouse, which if you follow me on Instagram, you will probably already have seen it. Maybe you've already bought it. If so, thank you so much. It is the pattern that I'm wearing. It's the 5th and final pattern of my Heirloom collection, which is the collection I've been working on and launching throughout 2020, consisting of 5 patterns. I've talked about the previous patterns in their own episodes, so if you have not seen them and you're interested, check them out. All the patterns are inspired by silhouettes and styles popular from the 1890s and up to the 1930s. Most of them ranging somewhere in the late Victorian, early Edwardian era, which is one of my absolute favourite eras, very close to my heart. But the Decadence Blouse, however, is, as the name might suggest, and if not the name, then at least the silhouette, inspired by the 1920s, another favourite of mine. It's kind of a decade that stands on its own. It doesn't look like any other periods. It's very different from the earlier periods, and it's also it's completely own thing when you compare it to the 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way up to today. So, oh my god, there's so much heavy traffic. What's happening? So that's been really fun. One of the things that I wanted to do when doing a 1920s pattern was incorporate beading, because beadwork and sequins is such an important part of 1920s fashion. If you look back, even if you don't know a lot about fashion history and the 20s in particular, you will have seen shows and films, and I'm sure one of the things that you even associate with the 20s, not knowing loads about it, if you don't know loads about it, would be the opulence and the beadwork and all those intricate sort of luxurious details. There's silks and velvets and flowy chiffons and loads and loads and loads of beadwork and embroidery. And so I really wanted to incorporate that into this pattern. I've never knit with beading before. Learnt it for this. So much fun. So if I can learn it for this, so can you. Let's talk about this design in particular. You know, it's inspired by the 20s, and as you maybe know, the silhouette of the 20s is also very different from eras before and after this time. It's very loose and flowy, and there's not a lot of curves being emphasized. It's just this flow, really like drapey aesthetic in silhouette. Sleeves also varied quite a bit. You had tight sleeves, you have these elbow length or 3/4 length sleeves that are slightly wider at the bottom. There are some sleeveless dresses, but those would be worn with gloves for evening wear. There are t-shirt length sleeves for day wear in the summer, again mostly worn with the gloves. And so it's quite, at the same time, it's a really fun decade to work with. There's new exciting things that would have been seen as quite out there and scandalous really, but to our senses it's also quite modest, with the decent necklines and the more loose, not so form-fitting silhouette. And so this, the Decadence Blouse, is inspired by all those things. I really wanted to capture the flowy, luxurious feel of fabrics in the 20s, and what better to do that than with mohair silk, just to give it that lovely drape. So this is the Decadence Blouse. It's knit beaded in a single strand of mohair silk. It has elbow length sleeves that widen as you reach the elbow, which there are loads of references for this particular cut. It's knit top down, so you start at the neckline, ribbed for a couple of rows, and then you start with the beading. Now, as I said, I learned beading for this project in particular, and I loved it. There's a video in the pattern that shows you how to do it. There might be other ways as well, but this is the way I figured it out. And you just knit them as you go, so you thread the beads on in the order that you're going to knit them, and then yeah, I opted for a quite simple beaded pattern, just because even though the 20s are intricate and opulent, this is also the epitome and just the main era for the Art Deco movement, which is all about geometric shapes, and while it's opulent, it's also quite kind of simple in a way. And so whereas the Art Nouveau styles of the Edwardian era, which came before, everything was flowy and so intricate, and it felt really like natural and organic, even though it was so meticulous. This is really rigid in comparison, but still really luxurious. And so I wanted to try to create a Art Deco inspired, quite simple beaded pattern of just simple squares and shapes. So that's what's happening along here. There's also beading along the hem and along the cuffs. It's really quite simple. The pattern in itself, if we don't look at the beading, is so beginner friendly, being knit top down and wide. You need to know knit, purl and increases and cast offs and short rows. That's it. Even with the beading, this is a beginner friendly pattern, because it's one tiny extra detail that you have to know, and it doesn't really feel like knitting. So if you're crafty, then I'm sure you will be able to do it, especially with the video tutorial that follows along in the pattern. As I said, this is knit in a single strand of mohair silk. I have, for this version, used fabelknitwear mohair silk in the colourway Wizard's Robes. Unfortunately, Wizard's Robes is, I'm not able to dye it anymore because the main pigment has been discontinued from the pigment dye manufacturer's side. However, I have new red colours. I have this autumn launched Warlock, which is a brownish red colour. I absolutely love it. It looks gorgeous on my hair silk. And the first colour of Advent, as it's already happened, I will tell you. Maybe you've seen it on Instagram, is Juvel, which is this incredibly rich, deep ruby red. So probably my new favourite colour ever. So you could knit it in one of those if you fancy a red one. I originally intended to release this pattern this spring in collaboration with Pickles. I was doing a window session at theirs where I was putting up a window display, taking over their windows, so to speak. But then COVID and international mohair shortage, who would have thought, and we had to keep pushing it, and so it ended up being a Christmas display instead. But I did knit a gorgeous seafoam green one in one of Pickles' colourways. Unfortunately, I don't have it here because it's in the display at Pickles, and I'll pop in a picture so you can see the difference in just how they look, because I feel the red with the gold and cream beading, this is very Christmassy, which I absolutely adore. But just knitting it in the seafoam green with these gold and green metallic beads, it just looks like a completely different garment, I think. And so just imagine how many variations you can do, because you don't only get to choose the colour of the yarn, you also get to choose the colour of your beads. So there are endless options and looks that you could go for. I just think there's the looks and the aesthetic for these two, even though they're the exact same pattern, knitting the exact same size, so different. Nikos window session launched on November 12th. I took over their window display and we wanted to make it festive and glitzy and a bit roaring 20s while still staying like wintry. It's finally done. The Heirloom collection is published in its entirety. It's been such fun working on this collection. It might be my favourite. And putting up the window display, it's also such fun. I love just decorating things. It's just the best fun, but it's also been a little bit stressful just because there's been so much happening, and there's a reason why I'm running late with this video. So I'm very glad that it's done. I'm very glad that you like the patterns. Let me know which one is your favourite, because I would love to know. In regards to everything, there is a knit along happening with the launch of the Decadence Blouse, with all 5 patterns being published. There is an Heirloom knit along for the Heirloom collection, so you can knit any of my Heirloom collection patterns and join in said knit along. It ends, I can't remember at this point, and there will be prizes. You can join on Instagram by using the hashtag, or you can join in the Ravelry group, or you can join both places and double dip and double your chances of winning. There will be prizes from my shop, so there's yarn, tote bags, buttons, stitch markers, what have you, anything that I offer up or sell, any of my products, just say that. So please join the fun. You cannot join with patterns that you've already finished. If you already cast one on and you've not finished it, then great, do join. But if you finished it way back in August, then that doesn't qualify. So it has to be cast off within the time frame offered for the knit along. So that's a little bit of admin information. If you want to see all the guidelines, you can head over to the Ravelry group, where everything is posted in proper order. This festive mug, I really couldn't pass it up. I had to get it. I want to show you some styling options for this pattern. It's again one of those things that you can really dress it up and make it really luxurious and like party ready. Because of the mohair and the beads, it just has that feel to it. You can wear it with jeans, you can wear it over a dress. There are so many options, as I really don't feel I can express enough, just because of, again, all the options you have in choosing beads and colour for yarn. So I just wanted to show you some simple styling options with this one, and then check out the hashtag if you want to see some other variations of this, my test knitters, and those of you who have already started knitting it, check that out. pattern has ease. It has quite a bit of it actually, and it's not something I usually gravitate towards in my patterns, but for 1920s, I mean, of course. So it has, as you can see, this boxy look, but the beads hold it down and drape it so beautifully, especially in the back. I just love the back because it gets this drapey look in the back. And so this has quite a lot of ease. One thing I will say, when you see pictures of me wearing these things and it looks like there's loads and loads and loads of ease, that's because I don't have boobs. But I do have, however, have a quite broad rib cage, and so I kind of use up my ease over the rib cage, but not over the bust. So while things look a bit looser over the bust on me sometimes, I do fill it in just around here. And so patterns that are intended to not have loads of ease look like they have a couple extra centimeters on me, just because it kind of caves in here, and you know, all these things that happens when you don't have boobs. Whereas if you do, you will fill it out in a different way that I unfortunately cannot show you on myself. So that's just something to bear in mind. Yeah, just I wanted to say it because I do get questions sometimes asking about the ease, because it looks like there's more on me, and that's just because it kind of falls flat here and then it tightens around the rib cage, if that made any sense. But then I guess with this, me just doing this, I will show you. It's easier to show you the ease when you're doing this. It's so flowy. I'm gonna wear this a lot, not just this Christmas, but just in general, because even like this, to a lot of people, it's a very festive version. It's my favourite colour, and I will wear it all the time. If you are worried about the beads, again, do not fear, because there is a video tutorial in the pattern. Thank you very much for joining me. I apologise if this was a bit of a rambled, all over the place video. That's what I felt sitting here talking. But thank you for joining me. I hope you're having a lovely Advent. Enjoy it to the best of your ability, what with everything that's happening. And I'll see you next time. Bye!